So welcome everyone. We are going to, we're mostly not going to use any props today, although I'm thinking we might end up with our legs up the wall. If you have a wall that you could access or a door where you could put your legs up on, I think we're going to try and do that at the end of class. If you can't access a wall, you could use a chair. Put your heels up on a chair if that would be another option. But if there's a way you can be near a wall, that'll be great. And if you had like a book or a block, that might also be helpful towards the end of our time together. But otherwise, we're going to get started here. And uh, this week, I've been starting classes seated rather than lying down. Just and trying to kind of bring into our awareness the fact that this is always an option. The what we do at the beginning of class is up to us. I often start lying down, but some people lying down isn't their preference. Some people might prefer to start seated. So I switch it up from time to time. But sitting is also a nice option. So I'm going to sit. If you prefer to lie down, go ahead and lie down. One of the advantages of starting sitting, oh, and I want to say if you're sitting, you could be sitting in a chair, you could be sitting up on a block. I like to sit up on a blanket. So find a way that you can sit comfortably. If your legs crossed doesn't feel good, you can have your legs straight, whatever. But one of the advantages of starting sitting rather than lying down is, when we begin our practice, we take this time to come into awareness of how we're feeling. And I often point out that when we lie down, we kind of have this instinctive relaxation response. But it can be useful, especially if you cultivate a seated meditation practice, that you can drop into that same place just by coming into this familiar seated position, right? So over time with practice, and that's why we call meditation a practice and yoga is a practice, we become familiar with the practice. So we lying down, that's our normal practice. We kind of might naturally start to feel our bodies and feel our breath because we always begin in this way. And we could have the same experience sitting. And this is how I begin my meditation practice as well. So whether you're lying or sitting, and if you're sitting, go ahead and root your sitting bones down, sit up nice and tall, cultivate a nice, elegant, upright posture. But then you might close your eyes and just bring your awareness to the feeling of your body. And in that moment of recognition and awareness, especially for those of us who have practiced for a while, there is this familiar place that we come to, this familiar place of coming home to our bodies and coming into this familiar place of opening ourselves up to awareness of how we're feeling. And over time, this might be a very comfortable place to return to. So, checking in with the body. And then we begin to check in with our breathing. And again, I think as we become familiar with the practice, we anticipate this. And some of us might have already dropped into breath practice, like bringing our awareness to our breathing. And when we bring our awareness to our breathing, it tends to slow down kind of automatically. But let's really slow the breath down and deepen the breath, inviting a full and expansive and deep breath in. And then letting that breath empty out. Choosing your own pace, but whatever pace you're going, it's a slower pace, and that in breath expands up and out in all directions. The breath flows down into the belly, Just feel that expansiveness on your inhalation. And then let that exhale empty fully and completely. You don't have to force it out, but just allow it to empty and release. If you're sitting up, I find this more available sitting than lying down. You can think about a 3-part breath. So on the in-breath, you begin by letting that breath move down as though it feels like it's going down into your belly. And then let it expand into the ribs, front, sides, back. And then allow that breath to move all the way up into the chest, maybe all the way up to the collarbones, to the shoulder blades. So it's moving up those 3 parts. And then the same thing on the exhale, emptying from the top down. And you can consider that happening in 3 parts if that visualization is useful for you. When we're breathing really deeply in this way, you might notice the muscles that are working to facilitate the breathing. The intercostals work, and then these muscles up in the neck and shoulders work to really make that big, deep, expansive breath. And then you might notice how they relax and release as the breath is emptying out. So let's just do one more really big round of breathing. Big expansive breath in and a full emptying of the breath out. And once your breath has fully released, you can just transition to a more natural breath rhythm. And we're going to spend one more minute here trying to keep our focused awareness on our breathing, just practicing mindfulness of breath for 1 minute. The mind will wander off, and then this mindfulness practice will just allow us to bring our awareness back to our natural breath rhythm. Okay, great. So maybe you can open your eyes if you like. Maybe some of you already have a mindfulness or meditation practice, and maybe not. But a lot of times people say that they can't do it, they can't meditate. And that's why I like to just put in this 1 minute of mindfulness practice, because like we can all do 1 minute, right? It doesn't mean, I think people think they can't meditate because they can't clear their minds fully for any length of time. And you know, that very few people, if anyone, can totally clear their mind for an extended period of time. But the practice is just about bringing your awareness back. And so you could do it for 1 minute, and that's mindfulness practice. Maybe you could work up to 5 minutes. Maybe you could work up to 10 minutes. And, you know, research shows that even 5 to 10 minutes of mindfulness practice, meditation practice can have really positive effect. So for some of you, this may not be necessary because you might have a seated meditation practice every day. But if not, I encourage you to just make some time every day for just focusing your awareness on one thing, or maybe delve deeper into the practice. Okay, that's this morning's lecture. Maybe take a moment before we begin to think about your intention for your practice or what you might want to focus on or invite in this morning. What's calling you? What would be of benefit to you and perhaps to those you interact with today? If you could cultivate a little bit more of it this morning. And then we'll begin. So we are going to make our way to lying down. You're going to need a little room for what we're going to do. So hopefully you have a little room to stretch your arms out. So, because we're going to start lying down, and you can extend your legs out. And we're going to start with our arms out to our side. Again, you're going to have to see if you have enough room. I think I have enough room. You might need to scooch around a little bit. So we're going to kind of do like the arms of snow angels. You know, when you're a kid, you take your arms overhead, or maybe you do this as an adult. And let's just reach the arms as we reach overhead. Just take a big stretch, like you're waking up in the morning. Reach, reach, reach. Put your toes, big breath. And then as your arms relax, just let them go back out to the side, and then let them come down next to your body. So we're just going to do those big circles. You can imagine snow angels. It's not hard to imagine snow angels living where we live right now. We've had a lot of snow for a long time. And maybe some of us have made real snow angels. I don't know. But if you haven't made real angels in the snow, you're kind of making the arms of snow angels right now. Let's do that 1 or 2 more times. Big circles out and overhead. And then big circles out and down by the body. And 1 more time. So we're going to be warming up the shoulders and kind of taking our shoulders through their range of motion. So if any of these movements are too much for you, just, ease off a little bit. Just do what feels good. All right. Let's bring our feet to the floor and roll to our sides. So, and we're going to just kind of have our knees stacked, one on top of the other. And then have your bottom arm straight out from your shoulder, and you can bring your other arm on top. We're going to take that top arm, we're going to circle it up toward the overhead, and then we're going to kind of lie back and let that arm circle back behind us. Circle it down and around, and then come back to your starting position. So that arm reaches up and back and behind, and then down, and then stack the shoulders again. So you're letting the shoulders drop back as the arm goes behind you, and then you're swinging it around in front. Let's go in this direction 1 more time, circling up and around and back, and then to our starting point. We're going to circle the other way, take that arm down, drop it behind, circle it up and overhead, swing it around, and go that direction a couple more times. And last one here. And we're back where we started, one hand on top of the other. Take this, let's take the bottom leg and kind of straighten it out if that feels comfortable for you. And so this other knee drops to the floor. We're going to take this top arm and reach it more forward, way out in front of the bottom arm. And then we're going to pull the elbow back, and we're going to reach that arm back and behind us. So you're going to like a lying side twist. And then bring the arm back and forward, reach it past your bottom hand, stretch into the back of the shoulder, then pull the elbow back and reach back and behind and breathe. And 1 more time, reach that arm forward and then bring it back and behind. Open up, take a breath. Good. All right. Bring that hand down on the floor. You can bring your knees again on top of each other. We're just going to push ourselves up, and we're going to go around to the other side of our mat so that we can do the same whole progression and still maybe keep an eye on our camera. So we're going to, we don't have to do the circles again. We'll just lie on our side, on the other side here, with the bottom arm out in front and the top hand right on top of it. And we're going to take that arm and reach it up. And then we're going to lie back, lean back as that arm circles back and behind. And then that arm's going to circle down and come back to that starting point. So we're going to reach that arm up, drop back, circle it around, and bring it back. One more time, big circle up and back and around, and then bring it forward. Let's go the other way. So we're just taking that arm, taking the shoulder through its range of motion here. Dropping back, circling around. If it doesn't feel good, you can like bend your elbow, make the length of the arm a little shorter, or make the circle not quite as large. All right. Did we change direction? I can't remember. We circle your arm around. If we did change direction, we're changing direction again. I'm so busy talking. I need to be more mindful. Didn't I just talk about mindfulness? Okay, let's straighten the bottom leg out. Take the top hand and reach it more forward, and then bring the elbow back and open and reach back and take a breath. And then bring that arm back forward, and then pull that arm back and open and reach behind and breathe. And then one more time, reach it forward and then reach it back. Great. All right. Again, you can stack your knees, push yourself up. We're going to make our way around to all fours, kneeling, hands and knees. And, you know, if you're on a hard surface and you want to cushion your knees with a blanket, you can do so here now. Take a few moments to get nice and square. And then let's take one leg and lift the knee out to the side. And when we do that, we kind of tend to shift the weight. As much as you can, keep your weight centered over your two hands. All right, so the knee is out to the side. Now bring the knee back so the foot points up. When you do that, the tendency is for the back to arch and the belly to drop. So let's engage the belly to support the low back. And then we'll drop the knee down. So knee goes out to the side, knee goes back and foot goes up, and knee drops down. Again, knee out to the side, knee back, foot up, knee drops down. One more time in this direction. And this time as the knee drops down, let's change direction. So the knee goes back, and then the knee goes out, and then the knee drops down. The knee goes back, the knee goes out, and then make it more of a circle. Knee back and out and around and down, knee back and out, around and down. All right, let's do the other side. So get the knees right beneath the hips, and then take the other knee out to the side. I'll just turn around so you can see my leg. And then take that knee back, so the foot is to the ceiling, and then lower the knee down. So knee out to the side, knee back, and knee down. Make it more circular. Knee out, back and around, and down, and one more time like this. And then let's go the other direction. Take the knee back, take the knee out to the side, and lower it down. So we're circling the other way. We have a little abdominal support here. Circle in this direction 2 more times. Great, you can put that knee back down. And let's go ahead and sit back into child's pose. Sitting back on our heels and letting the forehead drop down, maybe resting on your bent arms or on the floor. Let's breathe in and out here. Check in with our intention, what we're inviting in this morning. Can we infuse that into our practice as we move forward? So lift your head up and reach your arms out and make your way to downward facing dog. So this is a wonderful place to be for our spine here, because the weight of the head is kind of creating a little bit of traction for the neck. So we want to allow the weight of the head to drop down off of the spine. And you can nod your head a little yes, and nod your head a little no, and maybe do whatever else you want with your head. And just feel the heaviness of your head, and maybe free up some tension at the base of the neck, top of the shoulders. And then you might start to move your hips a little side to side, if that feels good. You might bend a knee and press a heel down. So just spending a little time inverted in this way has benefit for the spine, and it modifies the way we breathe because the weight of the organs presses onto the diaphragm, so the diaphragm can release a bit more. So there's benefit in staying here a while. Let's make sure we spread the weight out under the whole hand, not just the heel of the hand, press into the fingers and thumbs. And then let's stop pedaling heels. We'll bend the knees a bit. We'll see if we can lengthen the spine a bit more, drawing those hips way up and back, taking a deep breath in and out. You might want to, on the exhale, maybe do that again. And then we'll walk our hands back towards our feet, getting our feet right underneath us, feeling the arms and head loose, kind of floppy. Really notice your feet, plant them, you can see them. And then we'll take a big breath into the upper back. Allow that breath to release. Let's draw the belly in and begin to roll ourselves up here. Slowly, gradually unfurling, stacking the spine. Eventually the head comes up. You might roll your shoulders back and down. Feel your feet planted as you stand nice and tall. Let's take the arms and reach them out. We'll breathe in and reach them up. And we'll exhale, releasing our arms down. Okay. So I'd like to revisit something we actually haven't done in a really long time, but it's something I think is a really nice little practice for creating a little more openness and ease in the body. We're going to do something we call psoas walk. So of course, we haven't done our little psoas practice that we used to do in class either, but our psoas muscle, just as a reminder, is basically our hip flexors. It's the muscles that bring us into this position. And a lot of us are doing a lot of this position these days. So our psoas muscles tend to tighten up. So this technique is just a really nice, gentle way to create a little more openness and ease in the hip flexor, which actually attaches to the inside of the thigh and then attaches around to the bottom of the ribs, kind of. So we're going to stand with our feet hip distance apart. And then we're going to take a big step back, not a lunge distance. Actually, it's not as, when I say big step, I would say maybe the width of a foot, like one of your feet, or a little bit more, like one of your feet and like another half of a foot back. So about this distance back, right? The distance of a big foot in between your 2 feet. And so you've still got your feet hip distance apart, and one is behind, and we want to see if we can get our feet pointed straight, because the back heel, it has a tendency to rotate in, so you might even have to look down to see, and can you get that foot angling straight back rather than the heel turned in or the toes turned out. If we can have the heel straight back, we're going to be more effective at accessing this area that we want to access. So we got 1 foot back. We'll bring our hands to hips. We can start with the front leg straight. We're going to take a breath. And as we exhale, I want you to lift your back heel up and then bend your front knee. So you're kind of transferring the weight into the front foot. And then we're going to transfer the weight back and let that back heel go down. So we're just lifting the heel up and transferring the weight forward onto the front foot. And then we're letting that back heel go down. So it's almost as though your hips are a drawer sliding forward and sliding down. And a lot of us, our tendency is for our heel in the back foot to go back to lowering down on an angle. So you might need to look back and check that as the heel goes down, it's going straight back. It's not angling inward. All right, so as long as that heel's going straight back, we're just bringing the hips forward, lifting the heel, shifting the weight, and then letting the heel go back down. So we've just got this nice shifting. It's not so much an up and down, it's kind of a forward and back. And this next time you shift your weight forward, pause here. Keeping everything in front the same, I want us to try and imagine that the heel of the back foot is kind of lengthening out of the foot, and that heel is lengthening back and down toward the floor. So we don't change anything on the front leg, but we are slowly, gradually lowering the back heel down, 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 down. So that heel comes down, ideally straight back, not angled in. We still have the weight forward on this front foot. Let's bring our hands to heart. And we're just going to start to lift the sternum. Lift the sternum, lift the sternum, lift the sternum. And as you're straightening up, you might start to feel this stretch in the front of the back leg. And then we could even take our arms and reach them up. Since that psoas attaches to the ribs, if we lift the ribs, we might get a little bigger stretch. We're going to take a breath in here. And then we can bring our hands back in and step the back foot in. And you can drop your arms. You might just take a moment and notice if you feel a difference on this side compared to the other side where you didn't step the foot back. This is a technique that I used to teach quite a bit, and I found that it took a little practice for many people to really feel what we're getting at here. But just take a moment to notice. And then we'll do the other side. So the other foot is going to step back. I'm going to kind of show you how big of a step. So it's as if you have a foot in between your front foot and your back foot. And you've got your feet hip distance apart, not on a balance beam. And you got that back foot going straight back. So look at it and get the heel pointing straight back, not angling in, right? So we're gonna lift the back heel up and let the front knee bend, let the weight move into the front foot, and then shift the weight back. Lift the heel up, shift the weight forward, and then let the weight shift back. Lift the heel up, shift the weight forward, and then let that heel go straight back. You might need to check that the heel is going straight back and not angling in. So the drawer of the hips are moving forward and the drawer is sliding back. Let's do this a couple more times. And then this time we're going to shift the weight forward onto that front foot, and then not changing anything on the front foot. Can that heel lengthen out of your back foot, lowering down, 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 down. That back heel is down. Then we're going to bring our hands to heart, and let's begin to lift the heart, lift the sternum, lift up and up and up. And then we can take the arms and reach them up and overhead, lifting maybe the ribs a bit more. Take a breath here. And then bring your hands back to heart, and then step your back foot in. And then release your arms, and just take a moment to feel whatever sensation you're feeling. Our psoas muscles tend to hold a lot of tension. So sometimes that was like a little release of the psoas. So you might just feel a greater sense of ease or a sense of release, or maybe you feel an openness in the front of the hips, or maybe you don't feel anything, but we're just checking it. So take one more breath. Great. So that's a nice thing. If you've been sitting for a long time and you don't want to like do a whole yoga practice, you can sometimes just do that little gentle psoas stretch and lift up and kind of open up these hip flexors that get so tight from sitting all day long. All right, let's make our way to the front of our mats. We're going to root our feet down and stand tall. Let's reach the arms out. We'll breathe in and reach up. As we exhale, we're going to swan dive forward. Knees soft as we fold over. And then we'll bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Let's take a breath here. And then we'll exhale to straighten our plank. So here's our chance to start to bear some weight, to work the muscles of the shoulders, and to potentially support our bone health here by asking our body to bear the weight, the load, asking our shoulders to bear the load of the weight of our body. And we could be having the weight of the whole body, or if that's too much, we could have our knees down. We're still doing good things, even if our knees are down. If we wanted to make it a little more challenging, and this is not for everyone, you could try lifting a hand up and putting it back down, lifting another hand up and putting it back down, just adding a little bit of impact here. You can do this on your knees or not on your knees, or if it's too much for your wrists, you might just hold the plank position. Let's do it one more time on each side. And then we're going to hold our plank position. Let's try a little bend in the elbows, elbows pointing straight back rather than pointing out. We'll take another breath here. And then let's let our knees come down and let the whole body come down. We'll make our way into prone mountain, letting that chest sink down, sliding the heels of the hands back, lengthening from toes to crown. As we're here, let's slide our shoulder blades up toward our ears and slide our shoulder blades down toward our heels. So just feel those shoulder blades sliding up and sliding down. And then let your shoulder blades slide back to their sweet spot where they live. And just imagine from right between there, you're going to start to lift your chest up. And as you're lifting your chest up now, press the heels of your hands back and pull your heart forward. So you're lengthening like a turtle pulling itself forward out of its shell. And then let's lower back down. Let's do that again. We'll start to lift the chest up, pull the heart forward. Let's lift our hands off the floor just a little bit at first. And then maybe lift those elbows up a little higher and squeeze in. And then release your hands back, release your chest. This time hands staying down. We're going to inhale up to baby cobra. And if we like, we could come up higher into cobra. Taking the breath and then lowering back down. Let's go ahead and push up to knees, curl the toes under and lift the knees, and then lift the hips up and back to down dog. We'll breathe in and out here. Looking a little forward, let's step our feet up towards our hands and plant our feet beneath us. And we'll reverse swan dive. Sweep your arms out, inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale your arms down at your side. We'll do that again. Inhale and reach your arms out and up. Exhale and swan dive forward. Bring your hands to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Exhale to straight arm plank. Take a breath here, nice and strong. Push the floor away. Exhale, a little bend in the elbows or a little deeper bend in the elbows. Take another breath here. Exhale and lower all the way down, prone mountain. From our prone mountain, we can inhale up to baby cobra or cobra. And exhale back down. And we'll make our way up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. All right. Let's take one leg, maybe the right leg up in here. And then bend the knee. Drop your heel towards your bum. And could you lift that knee a little higher as you breathe in? Now we're going to hug that knee in towards the chest. And then can you shift your weight forward and bring that knee toward the elbow? And then take that leg up and back. Breathe in. Draw that knee up and in and towards the elbow. One more time. Inhale that leg up and back. Bend the knee. Hug it in. Bring it forward. And then could we look forward and step that foot through to lunge? You could also drop onto your knee and step the right foot out in front. And then lift the back knee up to get into a lunge. And of course, sometimes we might want to use a chair to facilitate getting into a lunge. So whatever way you can get into a lunge, make your way here, right foot forward. And then make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Press into the front foot and bring yourself upright. We can even straighten the front leg here. So similar to where we were when we were doing that psoas walk, that's what it was called. Heel is pointing straight back. Hips are facing towards the short end of our mat. This time we're going to bend the front knee forward, push the foot down to straighten. Bend the front knee forward, push down to straighten. So it's just sort of a deeper way to access the same thing we were doing before. So this time let's bend the front knee forward, drop our arms down, sweep them forward and up. Big breath in as we reach up here. And then let's bring our hands to heart and lean forward. Get nice and long from your heel to your crown and take a breath in. As you exhale, twist to the right. Twist around. You can keep your hands to heart or take your elbow to the outside of the knee and deepen your twist. Take a breath here and then unwind yourself, hands back to center, and then bring your hands to the floor. And you can drop to knees and go back to down dog or just step back to down dog. And breathe in and out here. All right, let's take the left leg up in the air. Lift that leg up and then just drop the heel towards your bum. And then lift the knee up a little higher as you breathe in. Let's start to hug that knee in towards the chest. And then can we shift the weight forward and bring the knee towards the elbow? And then inhale that leg up and back. And then bend the knee, hug it in, and shift the weight forward. And then one more time, lift the leg up and back. Bend the knee, hug it in, shift the weight forward. And then can we just step that foot out in front, or maybe drop to the knee and step the foot out. We're coming into our low lunge, left foot forward. And then can we press into the front foot to rise up? And then once we're here, we can straighten the front leg. Hands on hips, let's square our hips to the front line of the mat, get that back heel going straight back. And then we'll bend the front knee and push the foot down to straighten. We'll bend the front knee and push the foot down to straighten. And one more time, bend and straighten. Great. All right, we're gonna bend the front knee and keep it bent. Let's drop the arms down and sweep them forward and up. Big breath in here, reaching up. And then bring hands to heart and lean forward. Nice long line of the leg and the spine. We'll take a breath in here. As we exhale, let's twist to the left. Hands could stay to heart or elbow to the outside of the knee. Let's take a breath here. And then we'll unwind. Bring your hands to the floor. You could drop to knees or just step the foot back. We'll make our way back to down dog. Breathe in and out here. Let's lower to straight arm plank. And we'll make our way all the way down onto belly. All right. Let's bring our arms to our side. We're just gonna hover our head close to the floor. Let's press the front of the hips down, point the toes and lift the legs up so that you're working into the back of the legs, into the glutes here. With your legs lifted, can you draw your heels in towards your midline and then separate? Draw your heels in towards your midline and then separate one more time. Draw your heels in towards your midline and then separate. Point the toes, lift the legs up and then relax them down. Nice work. All right, we're going to again, press the hips down and lift the legs up. Then let's reach back through the fingertips, pull the heart forward and lift the chest up. Coming into locust pose here. Working the whole back chain of the body here. We're going to try and lift the legs a bit more. Reach back a bit more and pull the heart more forward. And if you want to try and lift everything up a little bit more for one more breath, you could do that. And then we'll lower back down. Nice work. All right, hands next to chest. Let's push back to knees. Take the hips back and sit all the way back into child's pose. Breathing in and out here. Checking in. Sometimes I like to move my hips gently side to side in child's pose. That's available too if that feels good. And then when you're ready, lift your head up, reach your arms out, make your way to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. And then let's walk our hands back towards our feet, lowering our heels down, ending up folded over. From here, let's bend the knees and lower the hips. Sweep the arms forward and sit back in our low chair. Yeah. We could keep the arms forward or try bringing them up alongside the ears. We'll breathe in and out here. Try to relax your jaw here. Sometimes this arm position, there's just all this tension that goes into the neck and the jaw. Let's push down into the feet and inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, arms down at our sides. Great. All right, let's turn this way, facing our device. And we can turn our right foot in and turn our left foot out. Hands on hips. We're going to just bend and straighten the front knee a couple times, making sure that back foot is angled in. We're really grounding through that back foot. And then the next time the front knee is bent, let's pause here. We're going to take our hips and tip them over. We'll bring this bottom arm on the bottom thigh, becoming a little deeper into your warrior lunge here. Let's take this other arm and reach it forward. We're going to sweep that arm overhead, thumb up, pinky down. And then, so the arm kind of rolls down. Then let's roll the belly and chest towards our device. And then reach really long with that top arm and breathe. As we exhale, we're going to sweep that arm down. Let's reach it behind and inhale and rise up to proud warrior. Arms reaching out, spine rising up, gazing out over that front arm. Let's take a deep breath in. As we exhale, we'll let the back hand drop onto the back leg. Let's turn the front palm up and we'll inhale that arm up toward the sky. And then let that arm come all the way down. Great. We're going to straighten the front leg, turn the feet forward. Let's turn the back foot in and the front foot out. Hands on hips. We'll bend and straighten the front. Bending and straightening. Back foot is turned in. Outer foot is planted. And then let's bend the knee and keep it bent. We're going to tip the hips over. Bottom arm on the bottom thigh. Other arm can start out in front. And then let's sweep it overhead. Thumb is up, pinky rolls down. And then we'll roll the belly and chest towards our device. Reach long with that top arm and breathe. And then sweep that arm down. Reach it behind you. Inhale and rise up. Reach out. Breathe in. And then we're going to exhale the back hand on the back leg. Turn that front palm up. Inhale that arm up to the sky as the back arm drops back. And then we'll let that arm come down. Let's straighten the front leg. We'll turn the feet forward. We can heel and toe the feet in. Just jump our feet together. Great. All right. So this is the point where I said if you had a block or something, you might want to use it. We're just going to take a moment to find the point on our head where we would balance a book or balance a block. So if you have something nearby that you can put on your head, take a moment to balance it. And then once it's balanced, press down. Press down on the top of the block or the book and notice where the central point of the weight is. That's the part of the head that we want to put on the floor. We're going to do headstand, just our really basic version of headstand. If you want to kick up into headstand, you can, but we're just going to do not kicking up, most of us. But that part of your head where you balance a block, if you're not familiar with this, you might want to watch me first. We're going to put that part of our head on the floor, squarely on the floor. And then we're going to clasp our hands beneath that or behind that, cradling the back of the head, slide it down so your sides of your hands and your forearms are on the floor. And one option is to just be here with our knees on the floor. The next option is to curl the toes under and lift the knees off the floor so there's a little more weight on the head. So those are our two versions of headstand that we're going to do today. Again, if you want to go to the wall and kick up, you can. If you have free flowing headstand, do that. So we're going to place that part of our head on. You don't want to look at your device anymore if you're doing this. Place that part of your head. Maybe you're already there, but if not, head is on the floor. Hands cradle the back of the head. Forearms are on the floor. Maybe you stay here with your knees on the floor. Maybe you curl your toes under and lift your knees up. Wherever you are, that central point of the crown of the head is grounding down into the floor. You have some support. The forearms are pressing down to provide more support. But you allow the crown of the head to feel that contact with the floor. You're putting a little weight on the muscles of the neck on the bones of the neck. Let's breathe in and out here. If it seems like too much, you want to put your knees back down. Let's take 1 or 2 more breaths. And then you can drop down onto your knees. I want us to sit back into child's pose with your forehead supported here. So if your forehead doesn't reach the floor, rest it on your arms, stack 2 fists on top of each other. So your forehead is supported, so your neck is supported. And then breathe in and out here. And notice how you feel. Headstand can create a certain sensation that you might recognize. A feeling, a sensation. Can be, for some of us, a very grounding experience or a very, settling experience. Or maybe you experience it in some other way, but just notice. And then when you're ready, lift your head up. So at this point, we're going to go to the wall. If you have a wall or a door nearby, someplace where you can swing your legs up onto. Again, if you don't, you could just lie on your back and put your heels on a chair. But if you have a wall, you're going to sit sideways to the wall, and then you're going to lower yourself down and bring your legs up onto the wall. You want to end up with your bum close to the wall, but not right up against it. Sometimes if we're too close and our hamstrings are tight, it's too much of a stretch. And if we're too far away, that's not, you don't want to be too close, you don't want to be too far. Just Goldilocks distance from the wall. All right, separate your heels about as wide as your hips, and then press your heels into the wall. Feel as though you're trying to push the wall away. And if you press your heels into the wall, you might notice that your knees start to, bend a little bit because you're working the back of the legs. I want you to feel your hamstrings firing. And then as you're pressing your heels into the wall, kind of claw your heels down a bit to even create more of an engagement in the muscles in the back of the thigh. So now at this point, I don't want you to look at your device anymore. I want you to look up at the ceiling and just hear my voice guiding you, because we're going to kind of do like we do in a bridge. We're going to roll the spine up off the floor with the legs supporting us. We're going to bring the weight up onto the shoulders. And now we have these very strong legs. We're going to take a breath at the top. And then with that support of the muscles of the legs, we're going to really slowly, gradually release the spine. Vertebra by vertebra by vertebra by vertebra. Take your time here and unfurl slowly, because those legs can support us and we can really start to create a little more mobility in the spine. You may notice there's places where you can't release one vertebra at a time, where a big chunk comes down at one time. Just notice that, because we're going to do it again. And maybe the next time down, you can kind of create a little more mobility in an area where there's a big part that comes down altogether. So everyone's going to go at a different pace, but eventually we're all going to lie with our sacrum on the floor. We can give our legs a little break, because we're going to do it again. So when you're ready, you can press your heels into the wall, claw your heels down, keep your gaze to the ceiling as you roll the weight all the way up onto your shoulders. We're going to take a breath at the top, and then really slowly, gradually, can you feel one vertebra, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. It gets trickier for a lot of us in our mid-back. Things get kind of stuck. And in the low back, things get kind of stuck. So best you can, try to release one vertebra at a time. And take your time. This would be a really lovely way to free up the spine. Eventually, let everything roll out. and you can let your legs relax. So at this point now, we have a fork in the road, 3 options. One option, you could just do legs up the wall. Another option, you could roll up and down like we just did. The third option would be if you would like to take shoulder stand, you could. And for shoulder stand, I'll demonstrate if you're not familiar. You'll roll up the same way, then you'll place your hands onto your low back, fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling, elbows in close. Then you take one leg off and the other leg off. And you find your way into shoulder stand. So if you want to try that, maybe you're already here, maybe you want to try it now. Maybe you're rolling up and down. Maybe you're just hanging out with legs up the wall. It's all good. Whatever seems best for you. It's good to invert. We let the blood flow back to the heart. We take a break. We offer ourselves just an opportunity to experience life from a different perspective. I believe that shoulder stand can help the immune system with the blood flowing back into the area around the thymus gland. Maybe you're rolling up and down. Maybe you're still in shoulder stand or legs up the wall. If we're in shoulder stand, we're going to make our way out. We might put our heels on the wall and roll down. We could bring knees to nose and roll down. We could take our feet overhead, reaching toes to the floor, and then roll out. Lots of options here, but we're going to all slowly, gradually make our way so we end up with legs up the wall. And we'll take a breath in and out here. And then we'll put our feet on the wall and push ourselves away so that we have room to roll to the side. We can push ourselves up. We're going to make our way to lying down. And I'd like you, if you can, to have something nearby that is a cushion for your head. So it might be a pillow or a blanket, ideally something that can cushion your head. We're going to do a little neck release. So as we make our way to lying down, and I should have said, if you want to put a layer on, you could. You can do it now, you can do it later. But if it's chilly where you are, I don't want you to be cold. But before we do our final relaxation, we're just going to release the neck gently. So we're going to have a little cushion under our head, snug it out by your shoulders. And then just kind of lift your head up, give a little tug at the base of your skull, and just find the center of the back of your head and lay your head back down. And then as you breathe in, I want you to put a little pressure on the center of the back of your head, pressing down into that cushion, that blanket or pillow. And then relax that pressing as you breathe out. So we're going to inhale and put that firm pressure of the back of the head into the cushion. And then we're going to exhale and release that pressure. 2 more times, just making the neck muscles fire to press the back of the head down. And then allowing those neck muscles to release as you release that pressure. And last time, inhaling to press and exhaling to release. Nice. And then we're going to transition to our final relaxation. So you might want to keep that little cushion under your head, or maybe not. Maybe you want to put something under your knees. Maybe you want to cover up with a blanket. So whatever you like, avail yourself of. And then we'll just take a few minutes here to drop into relaxation. And this week I've been guiding the relaxation because some days our bodies drop into relaxation very readily on their own, and some days it's a little more elusive, and sometimes a little guidance can be helpful. So I can guide you in this way. You can also kind of take these steps on your own if you're not with me or if I'm not guiding this. But I like to start from the bottom up. So feeling your toes relax, feeling the bottoms of your feet relax. Allow the weight of your heels to drop into the floor. Allow your ankles to relax. Feel the weight of your calves dropping into the floor, letting your shins release, relax. Allow the back of your knees to soften, the knees to drop into the floor. Allow the thighs to release and relax. Feel the heaviness of your thighs dropping into the floor. Bring your awareness to the area of your pelvis. There's your belly. There's your organs. There's your seat. Just let that whole area, give that whole weight to the floor. And allow your gut to unclench. Soften, release. Feel your upper back, your shoulders, your shoulder blades dropping back, allowing the front of the chest to soften and open. Feel the weight of your arms and hands resting on the floor. Allow the creases of your elbows to relax. Allow your palms to relax. Feel the weight of your head resting back, letting your neck relax, letting your jaw relax, allowing your cheeks, your temples to soften, eyes to be heavy, and your forehead to be smooth. And as you're lying back in this relaxed state, just allow your mind to come along and rest. There can be a lot of benefit to taking a little longer for relaxation practice. So if you want to stay longer, you're more than welcome to do so. You might just close your device. If you're ready to transition out of this here now, you might open your eyes, Bring your feet to the floor. You can gently roll to the side and take a little time there to transition. And when you feel ready, you can make your way up to sitting. Find a way to sit comfortably. Take a few moments here to close out your practice in a way that is useful for you. Often I find this a great opportunity for gratitude practice, or reflection, or prayer. And in this gratitude practice, I always find so much gratitude for you all, for this community, for our chance to practice together. So thanks for being here this morning. Please have a great day. Thank you for starting your day with me, although maybe some of you have been up for a while, but good way to spend our morning.